Hi everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to the Aladin show. I am so blessed to be here. I am so glad that you could join me today on the Aladin show. As you may be watching my show, you may have watched my previous shows that I have an amazing guest on and they share amazing skills and also the experiences and knowledge to help so many people. Today, I have a lovely lady on. I've known her quite a few years. She is an amazing, beautiful individual. She has been helping people for many, many years. So her name is Hussein. And she has experience in working in the statutory and voluntary sector for many years. She's 19 years in her, she actually worked for 19 years in social work, in the mental health, community development, charity and the housing sector. She's an amazing trainer and she's a project management consultant as well. So she does so many other things. And she's qualified as a cognitive behavioral psychotherapist and she's working that at the moment, and she delivers training packages to aim support staff, stakeholders and residentials and range of topics like mental health and equality and much more. As I said, she's got so much to offer, but I can't fit that in today. Tara is also a approved therapist to support well-being and awareness of mental health through training and CBT therapist. As you can see that she is really focused on mental health. She's been helping people with mental health for so many years. At the present moment that people really need help a lot, and I know people are going through a lot of things, anxiety, stress, so many things that is affecting their mental health. But obviously we can't cover this today. Today is about self-care, but I will get Tara back on in the next show. Welcome Tara Hussein, welcome, are you there?
I am here, thank you so much Aladin, lovely to see you today. Looking wonderful as always.
No, thank you Tara, and you've got, thank you for coming on and for your, obviously you're a very, very busy lady. And thank you for taking your time to share some knowledge and some of the experience that you've been working with. But today I know, as I said, we could cover so many things. You've got so much knowledge, and I am looking forward to getting you on in various shows, and we could maybe talk about different topics. But today is about self-care, and I know I love. Especially for myself for this year, I've been really. Something that I have been really focusing on myself as well, because we all always looking after somebody else and giving a lot to others. But self-care, I think more people need to kind of, for themselves, they need to get into it more often. But before we start, what for your self-care, to you, what does self-care mean to you?
Self-care, well, what does self-care look like really? I think that as human beings, I think it will resonate with everybody that especially over the last couple of years, especially with the different challenges that have been thrown at us, there's often quite a constant conflict between our feelings and our emotions. We often feel that we should be doing certain things, or we must be helping others, or giving out a lot of our energy, our time, our commitments. And as you and I know, time is probably, well, it is the most precious commodity we actually have, and we tend to give so much away that sometimes we don't keep enough for ourselves. Shoulding and musting is something that's common thinking. I must help my friend, I must care for a loved one, I must go the extra mile. And that compassion that we extend to others is absolutely essential, and it's wonderful because it gives us a sense of reward, a sense of happiness, a sense of peace and tranquility. But with self-care, my understanding of self-care is to extend some of that same compassion, that nurturing, that soothing, that love, that gentle approach, that help we give out to others, is to extend something that back to ourselves and recognise that if we don't do so, one of my favourite sayings is that we can't pour from an empty cup. So it's so important to replenish our own energy, our own emotion, our own being, so we are able to continue to help others, which as people we love to do. So sometimes we can feel guilty because we think, well, with self-care, if we look after ourselves and put ourselves before others, then that's selfish, and that means we're letting others down, or we're not fulfilling a duty or a role. So those feelings of guilt and that obligation and that love and protection and loyalty that we have for the people, our friends, our family, our loved ones, it can compromise our own needs. And self-care is about recognising that we all have social needs, emotional needs, psychological needs and physical needs, and just to feed our own souls as well. And I talk quite a lot about spirituality as well as physical well-being and mental well-being, and I feel that it is a real triangulation of balance. And usually feeding ourselves and replenishing our own energy is what gets us out, which is why I'm such an advocate for self-care.
Okay, thank you for that. So one of the things you said that we feel guilty of saying, because I actually spoke to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and I said, we need to look after ourselves. Self-care is very important. And the thing that he said came out with, is that not wrong? And it's how socially we've been programmed to believe that it's so wrong to kind of look after or love ourselves. And I think it's so important that we should be taught at school about self-care. I don't think there's enough done at school teaching children about self-care. What's your thoughts on that?
I am a real advocate for, I believe that if we can invest in young people, in little people as I call them, as they grow older, and fill them with all that love, that warmth, that sense of value that they have for themselves, that then later on down the line as people grow older, we don't have to go back to maybe fix bits that might have gone wrong, or where people might struggle, because we're created happy, healthy human beings from a very young age, giving out the messages that you don't have to be guilty, to be selfish or to protect yourself, and to have boundaries, and to be able to say no sometimes, or let me think about that, or I can't give you some time, but I've only got an hour, or if we meet later or speak later, or I'm happy to go and do that shopping for you, but can I do it after 4 o'clock, after I've been for a swim or been for a walk, or just found that balance. The consequences of not investing in yourself, I think you're right. I think that we are kind of programmed from a young age and made to feel ashamed or guilty, or that we're being selfish if we set those clear boundaries. So if you were to say to me, Carl, I really need to see you now, I'm having a really difficult day, I'd love to see you now, but it might be okay to say, that's absolutely fine, but can I just meet you in an hour, or maybe after lunchtime, just to give myself time to organise. One thing that I've learned over my decades of life, which I've been blessed with, is that you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to replenish the energy level, otherwise there's nothing to give. So if I give you to you, I might not have anything to give. If I can create pockets of peace, tranquility, health, space, then when I do meet you, I've got the energy to give you. So it actually way in both ways. That means that I'm able to practice self-care, and you're able to benefit from the fact that I've got that healthy, balanced, self-confidence with my mind, my body and soul. Otherwise, if we feel guilty, that cycle of guilt, shame, perceived failure, or I've let somebody down, that creates a physical exhaustion, a mental exhaustion, and then overall we're not going to achieve that healthy balance. So I don't think it's selfish to recognise your own needs during this altruistic journey of care, giving and giving and giving. We have to bring some of it back. It's essential. So when you were speaking to your friend last week, Aladin, and they sort of said, well, isn't that selfish? No, it's not selfish. It would actually be unfair for you not to. It's essential. There's an inner voice in us, a little mind that is saying, you're not doing enough, this shame, you should be helping, you should be giving. That voice isn't helpful or conducive to the balance of self-care. When we care for other people, we're giving compassion, we're giving nurturing, love, soothing, kindness, protection, and support. And why aren't we worthy of bringing some of that back to ourselves kindly? That's not unhappy. That's not to feel guilty about. That's a healthy approach. So to create balance and equilibrium, the needs of all parties have to be met. So I suggest very strongly that in terms of self-care, we've got an obligation to ourselves, not just to be to others, but to embrace self-compassion. I've got a story I can share. If we've got a few minutes, is that okay?
Yeah. If you want to project your voice, it's just that you're breaking off slightly here and there. I am picking up a lot, but slightly I'm not.
Okay. So basically, it's a story that goes back decades. It's when my children were very small, and we'd had quite difficult life experiences, and it was the first time we were going on holiday on an aeroplane, and it was really, really exciting. And I always remember this. We got onto this plane and it was a new experience. And the staff on the plane were basically the staff were doing the health and safety checks, and basically was what we had to do in the event of an emergency. And I was sat there with my children and 2 children, and they were only like 6 and 7. And the steward basically they were saying, if the oxygen mask is full, you must put your oxygen on first before you help anybody else. And I remember very clearly thinking, if those oxygen masks come down, I'm not going to be putting mine on. I need to put my children's on. There's a little old lady across the aisle. That elderly gentleman might need help. I'm going to help them first. Forget about me, and I'm going to give. And it's only as I grew older and a little bit wiser that I realised, actually, Tara, if I don't put my oxygen mask on, how will I breathe? And if I can't breathe, I'm in no position to help anybody else. So self-care isn't selfish. It's actually obligation. It's essential. That actually makes perfect sense, doesn't it? But usually it's married with feelings of guilt or feelings of we're not doing enough. But we do. We do enough for others, but giving it back to ourselves, that's essential.
Exactly. That's Tara. That's what you said. It's very important, to kind of look after ourselves. As you mentioned about the plane, yes, if you put on that mask and then if you survive, you could help so many people, your family and other members there. But it's something I think it's going to take time. I think a lot of people say, it's important for self-care, but they don't really take action. The guilt part is still there. Seriously, for my own personal experience, I must admit that it's something that it took me a while to realise I really need to look after myself. And it's just only very recently that I am actually doing that, and it was always and then I realised that what I'm finding now is that I'm getting the energy and I'm actually doing more for others than before, because I've got the energy, to do that. Mentally, I'm very fit. Physically, I'm much fitter than. It's weird, but people might say, when you're younger, you're more fitter. But I think that could be different. You could be younger, you could be working hard, but you don't have the self-care, but you could be really exhausted and you can't give enough. So I know you mentioned about a few things about just there about self-care. What is the beneficial in physical health? Generally, what if someone did look after themselves, what benefits would they get out of it?
Well, I think that you're a very good example. Obviously, I've known you for a number of years, and you've always been somebody who's quite inspiring in terms of you are quite visible in terms of everything you invest in your physical well-being, spiritually and emotionally. You've always been somebody who's been very grounded, and I'm assuming that's not just by magic, but it's something you've invested in. You've invested in your mind, you've invested in your heart, in your soul, and you've consciously taken those steps to arrive at that point where you're able to help others. But then from the physical aspect, we are getting older as the years are passing us by.
I say wiser, Tara. I say wiser.
And wiser.
No, I don't think older is the thing, because trust me, when you see someone who's 80, 90 years old, they look like 25, 30.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
depends.
But I do think that as we've become wiser over the years, that to be honest, I think that we're fitter now physically than we ever were. Because I know that for myself, that's what I've been doing for my physical health. But I know for you as well, you've been, investing in the exercise, in the physical, the weight training, the walks, the connecting with nature, and so you've taken different tools on a different day depending on what works, and actually built that resilience, that physical kind of base for yourself. And it's interesting what you said there, because you're finding now that you've got the energy to help others because you've invested in yourself. So it's quite ironic, really, because when I often say that we have to slow down so we can speed back up. So when I use the term we can't pour from an empty cup, we're talking about the fact that eventually if we keep give, eventually we're going to burn out because we'll have run out of steam, literally. But if we give and then give ourselves, we're finding the balance. We're constantly replenishing. So that physical health is combined with our mental health. They actually go hand in hand. Good mental health and good routine, structure, commitment will obviously generate more positive day for each and every one of us. So it's important that we're committed to that. Time is the most precious commodity we have, and quite often I always say go easy on yourself. Time is more precious than anything on earth, and yet it's the one thing we often fail to gift ourselves. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, and yet it's precious. Because a lot of people say, but Tara, we don't have the time, we're caring for friends, family, we've got jobs, we've got children, we've got families, we've got homes. But we've got to give ourselves headspace every day, a bit like decluttering your wardrobe. We've got to create those pockets of peace. People say there's no time, but I'm really, really keen to stress that there is always time, but it's not going to appear by magic. We have to create time. That might mean waking up half an hour early. It might mean as the cold days set in and the dark winters set in at 4 o'clock and we don't feel like going out for a walk or going to the gym at 4 o'clock because it's dark, or getting on the exercise bike, that we motivate ourselves to do so, even for 20 minutes. So just being self-kind, trying to create time for ourselves, and if we get it wrong one day, try it again the next day. If one day you're like, actually it's really cozy at home and I really don't feel like doing anything, so I'll give it a miss today, but the next day say I'll try again, without that critical voice saying, oh, you failed. Say, no, I'm just being flexible. You don't have to be rigid. If it doesn't work one day, be kind to yourself and say it doesn't matter. We're allowed to feel angry, we're allowed to feel frustrated, we're allowed to feel sad, we're allowed to feel happy, we're allowed to feel excited, we're allowed to feel our emotions. Yeah?
Exactly.
We don't give ourselves this luxury. We're allowed to feel emotions, we're allowed to be kind to ourselves, but also to balance that and access happiness hooks, stability zones, and find that balance. If we look for time, we're not going to find it. You're not going to find it, Aladin, and I'm not going to find it. We're whizzing around. We've got a lot on. But if we cultivate time and make time, then it's there. Time's arbitrary. It doesn't even exist in real life. It just carries on like a ribbon. We've tucked it into calendars and dates and days and times so that we can, be at work on time or meet people or jump onto Zoom on time. But the reality is it just continues. So we can find those 10 minutes, 8 minutes, a minute of mindfulness a day, 2 minutes of mindfulness, 10 minutes of meditation, a 20-minute walk, running up and down the stairs, dancing around your kitchen or your living room, 2 songs, listen to ABBA or the Bee Gees and just go wild. It releases happy bubbles in your brain. It's releasing those happy bubbles. And you might look crazy, but it's great. It's a good crazy. And that's self-care. So it doesn't matter if I look silly. It doesn't matter if I look stupid. What we're doing is creating happiness hooks. Yeah.
Exactly. As I say, it's just, for myself, examples of what I do is, like soaking in a bath, just taking that evening out for an hour or something. It'd be really nice to do that. putting a face mask on and just laying and watching TV and nice film. That's self-care. The thing that came to me when you were just kind of sharing this is that our energy shifts when we kind of look after ourselves, and it's not just about, our health, physical health improves, our mental health, and spiritually and energetically we open to, we get ourselves open to opportunities. It's amazing how energy kind of is more aligned and much higher, and things seem to come in for people if the ones that are look after themselves.
We attract. Aladin, you and I have had these conversations numerous times. We attract what we manifest what we attract what we manifest. If we manifest that we are exhausted, that we can't cope, that we're tired, and with the utmost respect, it's very, very hard when you're in that space. But if limiting beliefs will always produce a limiting result. Positive beliefs will generate positive results. If I say I'm really, really tired, but I'm just going to put a piece of music on, or read a book, or fill the bath, or get a bucket and stick my feet in a bucket of water for 10 minutes. It can be anything, small things. It doesn't have to be big things. Just little pennies in the bank that we accumulate. Sometimes as a psychotherapist, I'll set homework for my clients. And, I remember one lady, it was just simply her homework was to paint her fingernails a bright colour. And she hadn't painted her fingernails in years, and she came back each week and said, Tara, I didn't do the homework, I couldn't manage it, I was really down, I was really sad. And we worked together. And then one day after about 6 weeks, she came in with bright red fingernails. She said, Tara, it's like magic. And it sounds ridiculous how painting your fingernails could release those endorphins, but it was a sense of achievement. She did something, she took a step towards self-care, and it just cheered her up, and she felt wonderful. So just those, like you say, that face mask, just wearing a new dress or a cozy jumper or getting woolly socks on. I've bought some wonderful children and wool socks for tomorrow that are really soft and fluffy, and just being in the moment and just feeling that, soft, that coziness. I'm a candle addict, a candle fan, lighting a candle, meditating, looking at the flame. Give yourself 2 minutes. You don't have to give yourself an hour. Very few people have got an hour to sit down and meditate and completely empty their mind. You're making shopping lists in your head. You've got the next task to do. You've got to do. You've got so much to do. 2 or 3 minutes of just absolute attention towards an object, a flame, anything at all. Picking up a piece of fruit, an orange, just holding it in your hand for a couple of minutes, and just smelling the orange, just closing your eyes and feeling it, touching it, and just listening to the sounds around you. There's a very lovely quote that I use, that you've got to be grounded in your senses to be liberated in your soul. And all you're doing is bringing all of your energy back to that one object, just to reset yourself. You're just giving yourself a pocket space in your mind, and it makes all the difference in the world. Tiny little pennies in the bank, small actions that will accumulate, and eventually you'll start to feel the difference without guilt, without shame.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing this. I'm sure the audience that are watching, the viewers, are really getting the benefit of it. I'm sure they're kind of thinking about, I need to look after myself, and I'm sure. And the thing is, most people know that self-care is so important, but it's all about taking action and doing it. And we could put it off, say we'll do it tomorrow, next week, whatever, because I've got this, and I need to focus on that person. And eventually, time goes by, and years go by, and and ourselves we kind of forget about ourselves. And but it's so important just to, as you said, just taking even half an hour or 10 minutes or 1 hour out of the day just to have that self-care. And it isn't much time,
And self-care is reading a page from a book. You're not going to read the whole book. It's listening to a podcast. It's Googling something on YouTube, or I watch funny cat videos and ridiculous things that just make me laugh. 5 minutes. I do it deliberately. And quite often I don't feel like doing that, but I do it anyway. And some days I don't do it, and on the days I do, I think, oh right, that's cheered me up. Sometimes laughter, smiling, it's the small things. make all the difference.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They absolutely do. Just when we're looking at self-care and finding that, making that time, and obviously nutrition, it's okay to have fish and chips and very healthy food, but then have something healthy as well, so you're balancing it. If you're, achieving a good night's restful sleep, if you set yourself a goal that you're going to achieve good sleep, 1 night a week out of 7, that's it. And then if you manage it, then up it to 2 nights. You're not likely to achieve 7 nights of good sleep. Sometimes you get to bed late, sometimes you're worried, sometimes you're thinking, ruminating. So make 7 nights realistic. Give yourself 1 night a week. I'm going to have a wonderful bubble bath. I'm going to have some clean, nice, fresh PJs, some puppy socks. I'm going to lie down. I'm going to listen to a nice, relaxing piece of meditation music. And I'm just going to rest. Yeah?
Yeah.
Just trying to do those deep belly breathing, focusing on your breathing, drawing attention to your breathing from your diaphragm, not from your chest. Because when you breathe from your diaphragm, it activates your relaxation response, so it reduces your heart rate and it lowers stress levels. And that's what we want to do, is to balance those stress levels. But the biggest thing I'd say about self-care is that it's okay to reach out. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, I'm feeling a bit lonely, and you've got time to go for coffee, yeah? Or have you got time to speak on the phone? Because you have to connect with somebody, yeah? We're going to start sometimes to have a good conversation. I've had movie nights with my friends where I'll start watching this movie on Netflix at 7 o'clock, and we're all in different parts of the country, and we're all sitting down together for movie night. We're not present, and we're getting popcorn out. And it just creates connection. As human beings, it creates connection, yeah? But good, healthy. But when we're giving out to others, we're thinking of ourselves and going.
Thank you, Tara. I think you just, your voice was getting in and out slightly there. But thank you for that. We just kind of run out of time. But if people want to reach out to Tara, she's on Facebook, and as Tara, have you got a website? Can you mention your website?
Yeah, I've got a number of blogs and wellbeing kits and various other blogs on goldmarktraining.co.uk, which are free to access and download and to reach out and to share, as widely as possible. They're just there just to share some of my thoughts, and I think that there's some blogs on there about emotional resilience, about well-being, about self-care, and toolkits as well that you're more than welcome to access and to reach out as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for your beautiful energy. And I always lovely to see you online and offline as well. So thank you, and I would love to get you back on. You've got so much to share with the world, and I would love to get you back on. I'm sure we'll kind of have an individual few other shows talking about some topics. So thank you, Tara, for coming on. Thank you for everybody for watching the Aladin show. I am so blessed that people are tuning in and getting a benefit from it, and really appreciate everybody out there. So thank you again, and remember, keep watching the Aladin show. I have an amazing guest. It's ongoing new guests coming on talking about. The great thing about this Aladin, so just want to say before I go, is that every single guest that I have, they have an amazing energy. I only get people who are kind-hearted, compassionate, loving. Those are the people that come on to my show. Those are the people who really want to help people. Those are the people that are not into ego and saying it's for themselves, but it's all about helping people. And that's what I look for in a guest. And I've been so blessed to come across so many wonderful people. So remember to watch the show. So share it with your family and friends, and and on the social media. And I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from the Aladin show. So thank you for coming on, and see you next week. Bye.